Heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson famously said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." The journey to becoming a successful author almost always includes unexpected detours, hairpin bends, potholes, and the occasional punch in the face. But learning how to navigate the bumpy and often unfamiliar terrain of our constantly changing industry can lead to success. Our guest on the NINC channel today is Reese Ryan, an award winning author who knows a lot about changing lanes and managing the sharp turns. Reese's books have been featured in Entertainment Weekly, BuzzFeed, and BookRiot. In this chat with NINC member Eliza Mann, Reese talks about writing over the long haul, how saying yes changed her career, navigating the publishing world, and why evolution is her watchword for the year. While Novelists Inc., NINC, strives to provide accurate and helpful information, NINC does not assume any liability for or endorse any opinions, advice, instructions, products, errors, or omissions in the following video. Viewers are solely responsible for how they interpret and apply any NINC content.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm with Reese Ryan, and we're going to be talking about navigating the author journey. How you doing today, Reese?
I am doing well. I hope you are.
Oh, yeah, I'm working on it. So, we heard your bio, and you have had a storied career. But why don't you give the viewers an overview of your career to date?
My first book was published by Carina Press, which
Mm.
was a digital first arm of Harlequin in 2013.
Oh, wow.
So I've been published for a little bit now, about 13 years. And so I had a couple books published with them. And
Mm.
then from there, I ended up moving over. I moved through several of their lines. So
Mhm.
I wrote several books for their Kamani line, which was at the time their African American romance line. And
Oh,
then
okay.
from there, I was invited to pitch Desire. And so I did several books for Desire.
Mhm.
And then I also have done a couple books with Grand Central, a few books with Grand Central forever. And now I am kind of back where it's kind of in between Karina Press and Kamani. I was like gonna go for the indie, and I was almost about to hit publish when I heard back about the series that I ended up doing with them, Pleasure Cove. And so and so then I found myself back at a place where I want to go back to, at first it was like I wanted to be hybrid. So
Mhm.
and so right now I'm 100% indie, and I'm kind of enjoying that process because I might be a little bit of a control freak.
All right now.
And so I just released a couple of weeks ago, or like a week and a half ago, the
Mhm.
final book in my very first complete indie series. So that's kind of where I am. I'm not saying I'm never going to go back to trad again, but right now I'm exploring the indie space and enjoying the control and stuff that you have there. So
Yeah.
sometimes good, sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think Indy does offer that control. But it's all on you, small business owner, Reese Ryan, making it go, so that
Right.
can be, quite a change. So, but you mentioned several publishing houses, and I think, when we start, we have this vision of where we're gonna be. So thinking back to when you started, probably a little bit before 2013, right? Did you have a really solid, concrete idea of where you would be in 15 years, 10 years, 5 years? Did you have that?
Not beyond the dream of, oh, I want to be like a best-selling author. I'm going to have a beach house where I'm going to write, that kind of dream or hope. Not even saying that, oh, I'm thinking it's going to happen, but like that was the dream. So
Hmm.
I had no idea where I would be.
Hmm.
Just kind of, especially at the point at which when I was like in the Kamani and Desire years and category romance.
Hmm.
I was writing so many books a year. I really didn't have time to think about
Hmm.
anything else.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like I think at my height, I might have had 8 books I was contracted, 7 or 8 books I was contracted to write between the
Mhm.
two publishing houses and like an
Mhm.
indie project or something. It was wild.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was absolutely wild. So, and I know for some people that's them on the regular and that might work for them, but especially, I personally, once I hit a certain age, once I hit 50, like my
Right.
brain was like, we're doing different stuff. We're doing different stuff now. And then, a combination of that and like during the pandemic. So I am ADHD girly.
Yeah.
And so I was late diagnosed, and so I wasn't diagnosed until the pandemic because
Okay.
that kind of crazy train I was on in terms of how I wrote and procrastinating and doing
Mhm.
like writing 8,000 words, at the last minute, that kind of thing. Like being in that constant stress of the pandemic all the time and being super
Mhm.
empathetic and hearing these numbers of people that we were losing worldwide, it
Yeah.
was hard for me to function. And that same level of deadline motivation that I had that worked for me didn't work anymore. So
Yeah.
that's really what led to the diagnosis. But it also is when things kind of slowed down for me in terms of, how fast I was writing. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. 8 books. Wow.
It was crazy. It was
That is so
it was crazy. It was
my friend.
crazy.
You said something interesting. Deadline motivation. I think a lot of us might have deadline motivation when it comes to writing. So yeah, even in that, you mentioned the pandemic. Would you consider that the biggest shift of your career? And if not, what was the biggest shift of your career?
Probably for me, I would say at this point, the biggest shift has been after being on that train of constantly having books to write and being on deadline and being
Hmm.
in a contract, making the move, decide to move indie. That was the
Yeah.
biggest shift for me because
Yeah.
I mean, there is a definite learning curve for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then also for me, I felt like I was hitting a different audience. So
Hmm.
or trying to hit a different audience. And so in some ways I felt like I was starting over from scratch as an unknown. So
Yeah.
um so I definitely have hard readers who've been rocking with me since the beginning through all the different publications and stuff in indie, and I appreciate them so much. So yeah,
Hmm.
so there's that. And then there's, like I said, the target audience that I'm looking for. Like a lot of them weren't Harlequin readers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it definitely feels like a new space.
Okay. Okay. Well, you look like you're doing good over there. So that's awesome.
Thank
That
you.
is
Thank you.
awesome.
The illusion is working.
Hey, we gotta listen. That's definitely a part of publishing. So, kind of on that vein, I feel like every few months in publishing, there's some big wide swing, like a move away from an older thought pattern or process, or some major blow up in the publishing space. Like I think right now, like the biggest things are AI anthropic lawsuits and the way that authors are writing. How do you handle those changes and issues as they confront you?
So a lot of the time, especially in the last, I would say, year and a half, by the
Hmm.
time I even know about that stuff, it's like old news and there's something new happening because I'm just
Yeah.
either offline dealing with family stuff, life, and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then I'll pop my head back up and I'm like, okay, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
Or, or when I do, I'm like, I'm not gonna say I don't care because, it depends on what the situation is. But like, for instance, let's say the AI thing. First of
Hmm.
all, that did make me mad. People being accused of writing AI with no proof and, messing up their
Hmm.
deals and their careers and stuff without any kind of
Yeah.
actual proof. So that was
Mhm.
disheartening and
Yeah.
angry.
Hmm.
But also, it doesn't necessarily make me move differently, other than, so for instance, like the one of the things that they keep talking about is that uh okay, words escape me right now, that hyphen or whatever. The,
Oh, the hyphen. Yeah.
yeah, that, oh, like if you have too many of those,
Yeah,
then
right.
and I'm not going to change what I do. I love them. I use them all the time, and I'm not
I
going
do
to change
too.
that. I'm not going to change
Hmm.
that to make somebody think. Look, if I was writing AI, it wouldn't have took me 7 extra months to put this last book
Exactly.
out. But yeah, that is infuriating. And when I will say yes, the fact that there are so many books that are AI slop that are being dumped into the marketplace that make it so much harder for people who are working their hands
Mhm.
off to get these books
Mhm.
out, that it makes it harder to be visible with all the AI slop. So yeah, that's infuriating. So maybe I
Mhm.
lied. Maybe I am upset about some of this stuff. But it's just like I just try to, feel what I'm gonna feel, beef about it a
Yeah.
little bit to myself, usually not online.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then keep it moving because it's just like with all the other things we have happening in the world right now, I feel like
Mhm.
there's so many things that are screaming for our attention right now. Some of them legit, some of them not. So I'm just trying to
Mhm.
keep the focus where it needs to be as much as possible. So
I totally agree with that. I think you said you've been published since 2013. I've been published since right around the same time, 2012, and there's always something. So
always
I
something.
like that notion. Like, we just got to kind of keep it moving, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll never write.
Yes, it is hard. And sometimes to be like, eh, like I just was communicating with somebody via DM this morning, and they were talking about how hopeless it feels, right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of vacillate between that feeling of hopelessness, feelings of
Mhm.
super anger to, okay, I need to do something to get my mind off it, to be my safe space.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so like for instance, this last book, these last two books especially felt kind of cathartic because they
Mhm.
weren't obviously they were my life story, but they dealt with issues that have been issues for me.
Okay.
Book before
Okay.
last was about a woman who was late diagnosed ADHD,
Yeah.
and this one that was most recent was about a woman who's just raised in this really conservative
Hmm.
um, family and household, and how she kind of finds her own way. So, those things were cathartic, and so I just try to, make writing that place that kind of gives me a chance
That's
to
really
do
cool.
what I do that, and also give commentary on the world and where we are and stuff like that as well, because that's what writers and creators have always done. So,
Yeah, it's kind of what we have to do, right? Like
mhm,
create safe spaces for ourselves. And in doing that, I think we help our readers out sometimes, right?
absolutely,
Like
absolutely.
somebody may read that book and be like, I may have
Yeah.
anxiety.
I
I
always want
too.
people to feel seen, always want
Yeah.
people to feel seen. And so that's
Hmm.
what publishing has lacked so much in past is representation. So now we have all
Yeah.
these voices out here. It's just making
Hmm.
sure that people can find them. So,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, I'm a hybrid author. I've published traditional and I publish a lot more indie. And it sounds like you're making the entire shift to indie. Do you feel like we'll all, as authors, be hybrid one day?
I would have maybe said no a
Mm-hmm.
little while ago. Like if like maybe a year or two ago, I would have said, oh,
Mm-hmm.
probably, people who are killing it as indie are going to keep killing it as indie, and people who are doing, great in trad are going to keep doing that. And then you'll have some people who will be in the middle, like us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now I am seeing more. Well, first we saw the shift where more and more publishers specialize in going and find people who are already successful indie authors and
Right.
then bringing them into the published space.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the work is basically done already, right? So
Right.
you're just giving them new avenues and stuff. So somebody
Right.
was smart enough to do that, and then everybody started doing that. And then you started seeing more and more indie authors who just blowing up, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's Kennedy Ryan or Danielle Allen or, Jacquel, all these folks who have been
Mm-hmm.
killing it in indie on their own. They did all this
Yeah.
themselves. To see them to now go into these spaces and are killing it there as well is just so inspiring.
Yes, it is. It
So I
is.
feel like we'll continue to see more of that. So
Yeah, yeah. I would have to agree with that. I feel like, it is that decision that's what's best for you.
right.
Yeah, speaking of decisions, if you could pick one decision that kind of changed your perspective or changed the game for you, what was that?
I'm gonna go two different ways. I'm gonna say
Okay.
first of all, First of all, I feel like the year where things started to really take off for me in the trad space was, and this sounds so horrible. So Shonda Rhimes has a book, The Year of Yes, which was
Hmm.
always on my TBR, but I never got around to reading. So even though I never got around to reading it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. This is gonna be my year.
Right, right,
I'm gonna
right.
say yes to everything. And I kind of did. And I feel like things really took off. That's where things really started to take off for me. A lot of things that I would normally say no to, or I would let imposter syndrome make me take a back seat on, oh, you're not ready for that or whatever. I was just saying yes
Okay.
to everything. And
Okay.
so it did. My career really took off. That's in that period when I had all those contracts and I was writing all those books and I'm just doing a little bit of everything. So I think that was a huge shift for me, just to let go of a lot of the self-doubt
Hmm.
to myself, to just saying, yeah, do it. You can do it. You can do it. And
Hmm.
so
You got
that was
that.
great. And so then so I've kind of gone on a shift away from that now. Like I'm gonna say no to a lot of stuff now, because this depends on the period of your life you're in, right? Whatever.
Right, right.
But then, like in terms of something that happened that I wish I had done differently
Hmm.
is really at the beginning of my career when I was looking into Karina. I was asking people about it because on one of those like kind of water cooler sites back in the
Yeah,
day that
yeah.
probably doesn't even exist now. And
Right,
so,
right.
and so I was asking around what people thought about it, and people were like, ask this particular author.
Hmm.
And so I asked her, and she asked me, "Why don't you just self-publish the book?" And I was like, like that at the time felt terrifying to me
Yeah.
because I hadn't published at all yet. So it felt
Hmm.
really terrifying to try to start from scratch and do everything myself. And so I figured, okay, well, this digital press situation, maybe it'll be like a little bit of both, because
Hmm.
it'll be kind of like Indian, like I'll have a lot to do a lot of the things myself. And on the
Right.
other hand, I'll have some guidance like with the editing and stuff like that and covers and kind of learn things. And so good. That is the one decision
Yeah.
I regret
Okay.
immensely, that I did not take her advice. And
Okay.
don't get me wrong, I'm
Okay.
not saying that, anything bad about the publishers and stuff that I've been with, but I just wish I had jumped into the indie space back then. Even if I was
Yeah.
going to be continue to be hybrid and work with them as well, I do wish I had
Hmm.
just taken on or not been afraid to try
Yeah.
indie back then, when it was, I'm not going to say easier, but it wasn't as hard and the space wasn't as crowded as it
Right.
is now.
It was definitely different,
It was
right?
definitely
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. There were authors that were saying like, "Hey, you really should consider doing indie," and I was like, "Oh, it's so
Yeah.
much."
And she
And
was super successful as an indie author. She was doing well, with them, but she
hmm
was super successful on the indie side. And for her to say, "Hey, why don't you should do that?" I wish
consider
I'd
it.
done that. So,
Yeah, yeah. That Year of Yes book should have been out then,
yeah,
right?
okay. Okay. So, yeah, yeah. So, it was, I do wish I'd done that. I do wish
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
stepped into the space, and then it wouldn't have been so scary because, it does feel it, especially for me, it just felt terrifying to like, because there wasn't the resources and stuff that you have now,
yeah,
but it just felt terrifying to start from scratch on my
yeah,
own.
yeah. It
So,
was definitely different, and people looked at it differently too. Like,
and that is true as well. That
yeah,
is
it
true as
was
well.
just an interesting time. Yeah, good stuff. And the next question was if you could go back in time and change one question, tell your younger self something.
My bad, my bad. Yeah,
No,
I'm
no,
jumping
no,
ahead
but
there. Yeah, that would be the answer to that question if I would could go back and talk to my younger self. Well, no, I have another one for that. I'll tell you why.
okay, let's hear
So,
that one
but
too.
that's definitely the top one right there.
All right, all right, all
But
right.
another one that I would say is something I learned later because
Mhm.
like I said, late diagnosis with the ADHD, and I was like already, it was like during the pandemic, so just not that
Yeah,
long ago.
yeah.
But one of the things I learned about is like rejection dysphoria or whatever. So anyway, like how you take rejection so much harder, and I never understood that. So as a very young, much younger person, I had, I was all about writing, and I'm gonna be a writer, and blah blah blah. And like I
Mhm.
sent off this short story to like a magazine, like maybe 17 or something at the time. And
Okay.
it was a really nice rejection letter, but it was a rejection letter. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not good enough for this. And I just kind of
Oh,
never went back to the thought of writing again for
yeah.
almost 2 decades. And
Oh, wow.
so that's probably the biggest thing I would just correct myself on that. It was, girl, quit tripping. You,
Right?
you gotta have a bunch of rejection. You gotta have a lot of no's to get to the
Hmm.
so it's a numbers game,
Yeah.
babe. Just
It is the odds. The odd, you got to play those odds. I think that's very common though. Sometimes we hear that no, and we're like, oh, of course I'm not good enough. What was I thinking? So.
yeah. It's and even during the course of writing a book, like at this point,
Hmm.
I mean, I've written 25 books. I wrote 25, 26 books, I think, for Harlequin.
Yeah.
And then I have the books I did for Grand Central, maybe three I did for them. And then all the rest of them I think have been indie. But
Hmm.
so but even with having written that many books, it's wild how I'll start writing a book, I'll start with excitement, and then like somewhere around the middle I'll be like, this is terrible. This is awful. And then by the time I get to the end of the book and I'm rereading, I'm like, ooh, damn, I did that.
Actually really good. That middle part though, that middle part, something about it is like this is the stupidest idea I've ever had. Why would I continue this? And then you bring it back.
Exactly.
Fight through it. Fight. I feel like there was three nuggets, right? So like, say yes sometimes, then don't take rejection so hard. And then finally, oh my God, my menopause. What did we
Yeah.
just say?
Hey,
Um,
hey, look, you can't ask me.
I'll fight for my life over here, Reese. But yeah,
I was saying stop doubting yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Don't stop
that's
doubting
it.
yourself.
Don't doubt yourself. That's it. Thank you for the
You're welcome.
save, because
Look, together we can do this.
we can. We are one whole great person together. So, I think this is an interesting question. So we talked a lot about really great parts of the indie space, the control, things like that. What would you say is the best part of both worlds? Like, what is the best for indie and what is the best for traditional
The
publishing?
best part of traditional is A, the distribution, and B, not coming out of your own pocket. For
Amen.
things like editing and covers and stuff like that. I feel like with both of them, in my experience, most of the marketing was left to me. So,
Hmm.
that there's no change there for that if you mid-list or anything like that or below.
Right.
Um so the best part of the trad is that, was that for me. And I absolutely
Hmm.
learned a lot from
Hmm.
some of the editors I had. Like I do stuff all the time as I'm writing. That I'm like, okay, or even helping out somebody else and on some editing or, suggestions for them
Hmm.
that I'll absolutely learn from, past editors that will stay with me. So that was a huge help. And so
Yeah.
that was the best part, I guess, like of that of trad. For being
Hmm.
indie, there are a lot of things, honestly, that are great about it. And like I said, the control is great because I am a little bit of a control freak. Because though, for instance, with the Harlequin, we would go through the different edits and stuff, and they would send that final one and say, "Hey, this is just like to look at anything that's wrong, typos or whatever. We don't want to do a lot of editing on this." And
Hmm.
maybe if I see something that I can make better, I'm gonna do that because
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
end, my name is on it. Like I'm gonna be
Exactly.
super. I usually try to turn stuff as super clean as much as possible, and I'm gonna be super
Hmm.
careful when I'm adding stuff. Try
Yes.
not to
Yes.
add in mistakes. But
Hmm.
if I can make it better, I'm going to make it better because I can't not.
Hmm.
I can't not. So,
Yeah.
but so with indie, it's like I love that control of not having to suggest things and worry about whether or not I'm gonna get pushed back. Because I'm not gonna lie, I always was like pushing the boundaries, like trying to
Yeah.
sneak things in that I didn't know if they were gonna say yes to, but I just would try it anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but now I don't have to worry about that. So now
Yeah.
it's just, a matter of like, does it serve the story?
Hmm.
Are there any sensitivity issues and things like that? But
Yeah.
other than that, like I don't have to have a story that I pitch to somebody and they're like, this is really great. Can you add a secret baby? And I'm just that kind of thing. So if
Right.
a secret baby serves a story, yes, but not just because
Hmm.
you want it. You think
Right, right, right. Because it's a hot trope right now.
exactly, exactly. So I
Hmm.
do love that control. I love the fact that, you even on the marketing, side, whereas yeah, you were tasked with a lot of the marketing
Right,
as a trad author, but you couldn't control a lot of the things, on the other side.
right,
So
right.
now I can. Like if I think this
Yeah.
cover is not getting the job done, I can just
Hmm.
switch it up,
Yeah.
or just things like that. So
Hmm.
that is great, and that's been fun, as an
Yeah.
indie author. So.
Yeah. The freedom is great.
The freedom is great.
Yeah.
And like I said, just the control of being able to do things I couldn't do in my trad
Hmm.
books, like, having the little icons in each chapter and having the chapters with the character's name, just stuff like that. Whereas
Hmm.
when you're with other publishers or whatever, they're like, this is the way they format this, or
Yeah.
this is the way they think
That
it should go.
style guide.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
then I also don't miss conversations like um I had a book, and in the book Um, I mentioned characters like my mind is like really just went just a different world.
Yeah.
So I mentioned Whitley from a different
Hmm.
world in the
Hmm.
book, and this editor looks at it and she's like, I don't think most readers are gonna know this obscure TV show. And like it lit my hair on
Was
fire.
it
For real. It
obscure?
absolutely lit my hair on fire. And I was ready to fight. And I did fight for that because I'm like, don't play with me.
Right.
So yeah. So just
It's
things
like,
like that I don't have to
hmm
worry about anymore. And so I am very, very grateful for that. But at the same
hmm
time, at the same time that you do realize that you don't want there are things that you don't want to do. You know what
Right,
I'm
right,
saying?
right.
So you
Hmm.
definitely want to just it's not that you think, okay, everything I do is golden and should be,
Right.
you still need editing, you still need insight from other people and stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So, but it
Yeah.
is definitely nice having the additional control and being able to
Interesting.
explore different things, whether it's the topics themselves, how you're
Mhm.
formatting, just whatever.
Yeah, yeah, because different things resonate with your audience, and your
Hmm.
audience, may not be known to the person that you're working with in your publishing team. So it is
Hmm.
pretty cool to have control over that. I wouldn't know who Whitley was off rip because I wanted to be Whitley for many, many years, and Kim and
See, I was
Teresa.
Freddie. I was,
Oh,
and
Freddie
and
was
look,
so
now that you
cool.
spent a little time with me, you probably could see that too. I was totally Freddie. I love Freddie.
Love her too. Oh, she is so She was so perfect. Just free and whimsical. I love that character.
I adored her. Right, right. And
Fantastic.
so, yep.
And for the viewers, we are talking about a different world, which was in the formative years of our lives. So,
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
yes,
So Google
yes.
is your friend. If you don't know, Google
Google
is
is
your
your
friend.
friend, and it's on Netflix. But
And they're
alas.
doing, they're doing a reboot,
They
actually.
are doing a reboot, and I'm so excited for that. I just
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
us
yeah.
going down this rabbit hole, but we'll have to do another like show or something about a
Yeah.
different world. Uh, so, Reese, what is your advice for the brand new author who might have been at the start of this podcast, like a little afraid, a little wondering, what do I do? Which road do I take? What is your advice for them?
Ooh, like that's such a broad question. It's like
It is.
on what? There's so many things. So I would say one of the things I would say right off the rip is if you want to be an author, read widely. Read a lot.
Yes.
Nothing is worse than somebody's like, I'm just gonna write a romance, and they've never read any, and they just, they don't have real respect for the genre. So, and read not only within whatever genre you
Mhm.
want to write, but also outside of it, you can learn a lot. So that would be my first advice. Second advice is piece of advice would be never stop learning. Like always be looking at ways that you can improve your craft.
Mm-hmm.
I one of the remarks that I've heard with this last book release that has made me so happy is people saying that it was their favorite book in the series. And a lot of people said it about the last book in the series, or that was their favorite book or whatever. And so you want that. You want every book you write to be better than the last. And so
Mm-hmm.
definitely want to just keep learning, keep trying. If you're having some kind of a difficulty, like initially in my career, I was like, I don't want to outline, whatever. And so, but I wasn't finishing books. And
Mm-hmm.
so, sometimes trying advice, like every bit of advice is not for you. It doesn't matter who it is, no matter how popular they are, no matter how many
Mm-hmm.
books they're selling, every piece of advice is not going to be for you. So, but if you're
Yeah.
struggling in an area, don't be afraid to try something new
Right.
to see if it works for you. Try it on, see if it works for you. So,
Mhm.
those would be, what is that, two pieces of advice?
Yep, yep,
There we
yep.
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So
Mhm.
we've navigated your publishing journey, and learned all the things that you've done to keep yourself successful and satisfy your career. What's next for you, Reese?
So, like I said, I just finished my first complete indie series, the Love and Music Suite. So, it's a 4-book series, and I'm not leaving the universe. So, this next series is in that same universe, but it's the Black Diamonds Quartet. And so, the book one already came out because it was a part of the a Black author event that I did a while back, and so I added a lot of content to the book and re-released it in the fall, like it was like October.
Mm,
So now book two will be coming out in that series. So that's the thing is going with my second series. There is a story that I'm gonna pitch trad maybe down the road, somewhere down the road, but right now I'm focused on completing this series. So the next book in the
very
series is
cool.
called Only You, and so I'm looking forward to working on that one.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I want to personally thank you for coming on today, and giving folks a little bit of inspiration for when, sometimes our journey changes and we can still do that and make it something that's true to ourselves. So thank you for that. I
Thank you so much for
appreciate it.
having me, and I appreciate you saying that because the art of the pivot is definitely something that I'm learning, and so yeah, I would absolutely say that my word for the year is evolution. So
That's
I feel like you need to evolve in your career. So and
yeah.
that is what I'm working on this year.
Very cool. Well, thank you. And thank you all for joining us today, as we work through this discussion. We hope that it's been motivational for you. And I guess I'm leaving you with, maybe have your own year of yes. So thank you all. We'll see you all next time.
Take care.
Well, I agree with Eliza. That was inspirational. Thank you, Reese. If you'd like to know more about either of these amazing authors, we'll put the links to their websites in the description box below. Here at Novelists Inc., NINC, we're releasing a video every week about the craft and business of writing professionally, and we hope you'll take a second to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help more writers find our channel. If you'd like to know more about NINC, the Organization for Career Novelists, visit our website. The link is also in the description box below. Until next time, happy writing.